This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock! But the evil that men do lives on. We gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Switzer.
Back at you here on the Music Mania podcast. I'm your host, Clint Switzer. Thank you so much for joining us here. We're always grateful to have you press that subscribe button on YouTube or iTunes, whichever means you choose to take in the show. And it's great to be back after a week off. I was down in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area for a few days last week, and I didn't have a podcast for that because I was down there to cover the LA Guns show, which I want to talk about. It was my first time seeing the reunion of Tracy and Phil. What a great show it was. It was at this really cool venue called the Brass Mug, which is kind of in North Tampa, and it's just one of those really cool venues that just kind of smells like stale beer and sweat and just a lot of character to it. Really enjoyed the show. Got in there for one of the opening bands, which is Butterside, and we're actually going to be interviewing Patrick Stone from the band Butterside coming up on a future podcast. So always love stuff like that where you see an opening band that makes a connection with you, and through the power of social media, stuff like that, you hit up someone, you say, hey man, I really enjoyed the set. Would love to talk to someone from the band and have them on. And Patrick Stone, who actually used to sing in Adler's Appetite with Steven Adler, is a singer of Butterside. Really enjoyed them. Really a diverse sounding hard rock band. And they're going to be, they're out with LA Guns right now. And they've been doing it for quite a while. So LA Guns, though, great set from them. Really powerful. It's a reunion that, to me, that was inevitable. It needed to happen. Having Tracy and Phil on stage together just feels right. And for fans of the genre, fans of LA Guns that have had to deal with kind of two different touring versions of the band, you used to have Tracy's version and you had Phil Lewis's version that included Steve Riley, and it just all was kind of convoluted. It was all kind of a mess. This just feels right. Although Steve Riley is not included, I don't think Tracy and Steve get along too well. But this is just great. The show was awesome. Got up right up there in the crowd. Got right up front and just enjoyed it. It was several hundred people there. It was packed to the hilt. Very receptive of the new material, which sounded great. The old classics, I mean, they ran through the gambit. They did not leave out a single hit. When you think about the band's history and songs like Show No Mercy, Electric Gypsy, Bitches Back, Over the Edge, of course, the hits like Ballad of Jane was in there, Sex Action. Great set. It was well-balanced. You got to see a really good guitar solo from Tracy, and I'm a huge fan of that. And that kind of leads me into this week in our guest, who is Brent Muscat, formerly of Faster Pussycat, but also played with LA Guns in the early 2000s. We're going to ask him about that. He's also in a band now called the Saints of Las Vegas that are a mainstay in the Las Vegas music scene. I'm going to talk to him about, he formed the band Sin City Sinners back in several years ago, and then left in 2015 to kind of explore other options, and that kind of begat the band the Saints of Las Vegas. And if you're ever out in Vegas, be sure to check them out. Brent's one of the nice guys in rock, no doubt about it. He has had some public feuding and lawsuits over the name Faster Pussycat with Tammy Down, and kind of see where that's at, see what the relationship's like today. See, I know back in the early 2000s, I think Brent was diagnosed with cancer, mouth cancer, and I was at Rocklahoma in 2007, and I believe I remember Tammy kind of making some remarks about Brent and that were kind of disparaging. That's 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. We'll see where things are at with them. But guys, before we get to our interview with Brent, got to thank our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. For over 20 years, a staple of the Northland. I have bought 95% of the music that I still own today at CD Warehouse. Buy, sell, trade, CDs, DVDs, vinyl, and more. They've got some cool memorabilia up there. Got to go check them out. CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. Randy Ringer, owner, tell him that the Music Mania podcast sent you, and I'm sure he'll hook you up with a good discount. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, doing great, man. We really appreciate you joining us, taking the time to talk to us today, man. First off, just how's everything been going out there in Las Vegas, my man?
It's been great. I've been really busy playing a lot. We just released our first single, The Saints of Las Vegas. We just released our first single from Mika, available everywhere. And we're really busy, crazy busy playing like so much. Last night I played like 3 sets out in front of T-Mobile Arena. So I've been really blessed.
That is awesome, and I know the Saints of Las Vegas, this thing has really been a good lightning rod for you and in your career and taking off. And of course, you kind of made the transition over from the Sin City Sinners to the Saints of Las Vegas. Just kind of talk about that transition, why you wanted to do it, and kind of how happy you are with how things have turned out here.
Well, the Sin City Sinners, a few things happened. I mean, one. I got to a point where it was poorly managed, and I gave the manager too much power, and it got to a point where my band didn't feel like my band anymore. It felt like someone had taken it over, and it wasn't as cool. It wasn't what I first envisioned, and it turned out to be something a little bit different. And a lot of member changes and stuff. That hurt the Sin City Sinners as well. I think too many member changes, and then, and like I said, me giving this poorly managed. So I quit that band, and I wanted to distance myself from that band because they kept kind of going, but it really was like, it was like some bad blood, I think, between me and the manager, and he would talk shit. So I really said, okay, I'm going to really differentiate myself from sinner to saint. So that's how I went from Saints of Las Vegas.
Absolutely, and you talk about playing T-Mobile Arena. I'm assuming that this is like some of the pre-show parties, like for Knights games that are going on there. Is that kind of?
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, we're doing the pre-show parties and stuff, and we're out on the bridge in front of New York, and we're out in the park in front of the beer house, and it's pretty awesome. We're out there, and people are. One guy said, "Hey, I know you. I went to school with you." He was surprised when they said, "Brent Muscat." Oh my God. Fellow Monrovia, California, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So you play a Faster Pussycat song, and so I get to play some of my old stuff too, and we have a lot of fun.
Well, I know you left California for Vegas several years back. It seems like a lot of musicians, especially from kind of your era, from your genre, are kind of migrating either to Vegas or Nashville. Does that kind of seem how it is to you as well?
Yeah, well, what's funny is I'm one of the first to come out here. I always consider myself a pioneer because when I first came out here, there wasn't much of a rock scene. And my only goal was I want to come out here and recreate a rock scene. That was my first goal when I came out. And then I got cancer pretty much right after I came out here. So my goal after that was create a rock scene, but I want to give back. I want to do charity stuff. And, while I'm playing, just make sure I give back because I'm lucky to be alive after surviving cancer.
Absolutely the case, Brent.
And that's when the Sinners first started. It really started off as jamming for fun, and it wasn't about money. It was more about giving back, And then it turned into not that. And like I said, at one point I just had to quit. It just got so bad I had to quit my own band, and that's why I went from sinner to saint. So I wanted to call it something totally opposite. Saints of Las Vegas, and
certainly,
and that's how that happened.
And I know you talked about playing some of the pre-show parties, the bridge there and T-Mobile Arena. But is there another specific venue that you guys can find? I think I saw maybe at Virgil's Virgil's Little Barbecue and a few others.
At the Link on the Strip. Yeah, it's really cool. There's a whole area inside. What's the casino over there? In between Flamingo and the Link.
Bally's.
Casino.
Bally's.
Bally's over there. Bally's over there too. But there's a huge Ferris wheel there, and they call it the Link area. There's a whole bunch of cool places to go over there. But we play inside there at like a restaurant. They set up a little stage in there, and we just kind of start off slow because people are eating dinner, and then we just start rocking out as the night goes on. We start kind of picking it up and rocking out, you know.
That's so cool. What is this band, and how important is this to you? I mean, when I see, you know, some of your videos, of course I follow you guys on all the social medias and stuff, and see some of the videos of some of these awesome performances. You've got an unbelievable band with you, Brent. We just kind of talk about.
It's even better now. We got rid of some dead weight, so to speak, from some former members. But we got a new bass player named Brandon Garcia. He's really great. And we working with Ryan White Maloney. He was a contestant on The Voice and a big TV star. He's a great producer. So he's working with us and doing some songwriting and producing right now and joining forces with us. So the band is getting bigger and better, and we've really tightened up our act, I think. This year, I think, is going to be our year where we're going to start with not only just playing all the time and playing covers, but really working on a lot of putting out an original song each month, you know, one a month at least. Maybe even more. Maybe 2 a month if we're really ambitious.
Well, you know, you've got a lot going on. You play in other bands, you got other projects, you do a lot of things. So, you know, that's going to be, you know, you got a lot of crunch on the time there, and you got kids and everything else, man. You can stay busy,
well,
don't you?
I'm going to focus this year. I'm really focused on this band pretty much.
Cool.
I'm not going to. Last year I was kind of, you know, I had a lot of projects. I was kind of all over the place, but I think this year I'm really going to focus just on this one band, the Saints of Las Vegas. And I'm not only am I a member, I'm kind of the manager of it, you know, because I don't want to get into the situation what happened with the Sin City Sinners, where I let a guy come in and they just took too much power, you know.
And you have
so I'm managing this band.
Awesome, and you have a lot of experience from that. I mean, you were part of Faster Pussycat.
Even with Sinners, I was basically, every time the guy who took the power, every time he had a problem, he was always calling me for advice. You know, yet it was funny. He's one of those type of guys where if anything goes good, he would take the credit for it. But if anything went bad, he'd point the finger at you. You know. So, and then when anything went, you know, he was always calling me because I had the experience. So, you know, I pretty much taught the guy, brought him up from, you know, he almost started off as like a roadie, and then he just got too big-headed. Like, I came up with this band, and it's just like, bullshit, dude. You know? If it wasn't for me and the people I knew and toured with, because the way we built up that band is we had a lot of rock star guests come in and play with us. And a lot of these people I knew from being in Faster Pussycat.
It's funny how some things never change, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you talk about Faster Pussycat, of course, founding member of the band. I've always kind of been curious because it's been a long time. I remember, you know, obviously there's a lot of public, you know, kind of public words of back and forth between you and Take Me Down. It's really been 10 years since I've heard really anything. I mean, what's kind of the situation?
Since that kind of fight we had, we made up, and he's came out and jammed with me in Vegas probably at least 3 or 4 times.
That's so cool.
So, yeah, I mean, it's like I tell people, when me and him are like brothers, we're kind of family, and brothers fight harder than anybody else if you think about it, you know?
Yeah, that is the case. And I mean, you guys, it's great to see that, because as fans, as a huge fan of Faster Pussycat and the legacy you guys have, because I mean, you guys formed this thing basically in high school.
I mean, we are like brothers, where I mean, it's like you may fight and stuff and talk shit, but you love each other too, you know, as a brother, you know.
I've definitely been there, my friend. And I want to get your take on this, too, because I just saw the LA Guns reunion tour last week in Tampa with Phil and Tracy. Just want to get your take on those two reuniting and hammering it out, man. It was a really good show, I can tell you that.
Well, I can tell you this. Tracy and Phil first made up at one of my shows out here in Las Vegas, jamming with us, and I jammed with them.
That's awesome.
So we helped bring them together. So I'm glad to see them together. I would like to see more original members in the band, personally, you know. But, you know, seeing Tracy there and Phil's good. I would like to see Steve Riley. the original drummer. Because I toured with Steve Riley and Tracy. You know, I was in that band for a while.
Oh yeah, in the early 2000s, you were on the Covers album too, which I love that Covers album.
Yeah,
LA Guns did.
yeah,
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
It is, and it does seem like a little something's missing. I know. I think it's Steve and Tracy. They just don't quite. Something's there, you know. And like you said before, it happens, and you know how it is, but you never know.
Yeah.
With those two.
Yeah. So, but it's cool to see them back together. You know, like I said, I'm like a hardcore fan, and I toured with them myself. I was in the band with like Tracy, Steve, and Phil. So for me, I saw them not too long ago at Vans, and it was at a little difficult time watching them. I'd have to kind of take breaks and go outside because I was sort of, I don't know, it's like a feeling of like, oh, Steve Riley should be there, you know, and you know, and the drummer, you know, or the drummer should dye his hair black, you know? I mean, it's like...
That'd be a good start.
There was a few things I just thought, if you're in LA Guns and you're drumming, you should have this black hair. And I don't know, it's like a, you know, it's like, it's almost, I don't know what you would call a uniform. You know what I mean? It's like if you're in LA Guns, you should have black hair, and, you know, long black hair, at least sort of spiky or look cool. And like, when I was watching them, I thought, it's cool to see them back together, but like, I'd like to see Tracy shave the beard, and I'd like to see the drummer dye his hair black. But other than that, so that's why I was like taking breaks, because I was kind of like, I was getting sort of agitated, you know. I'm like, you know.
That's a good point. I didn't think about LA Guns in that way, but that's probably why Ralph Sands, you know, from Steel Panther didn't work in LA Guns, because he was a blonde. He's a blonde.
Yeah, well, there's a certain image, you know. I mean, it's kind of weird. Even if you're the same guy, it's bad enough to change members, but even like with Tammy in Faster Pussycat, he started off with blonde, and when he changed his hair color to dark, people went nuts, you know. So you have a certain image, and then once you change that image, it kind of almost like a uniform, you know.
Well, that's interesting, because, you know, Faster Pussycat was one of the biggest bearers of a uniform change in the early 2000s when you guys kind of went in the more darker industrial look. What did you think of that?
I didn't like it, really, to tell the truth.
I don't think Greg did either.
No, Greg didn't either. Greg ended up like quitting right in the middle of one of the tours, and yeah, I didn't like it. But I mean, you know, I respect Timmy for taking chances and always being. He's always one to kind of like shake things up, you know. So I appreciate that part of it, but I kind of wish we would have stuck more to just what the traditional kind of rock and roll thing, you know.
Yeah, and there's, of course, a happy medium between 1987 Faster Pussycat and what existed. I mean, a lot of bands found a really happy medium. Poison and Motley Crue all found really good versions of themselves that didn't include looking like, you know, an 80s shadow of themselves, but also still current. I mean, that's kind of, you know, I think that's important to find that.
Yeah, but it was kind of hard for me to watch. Sometimes it's hard for me to watch a band that I was in or that I grew up with, because it's like, I don't know what it's almost like looking at an ex-girlfriend with a new guy or something, you know?
Yeah.
Even though you don't love her anymore, it's a little bit painful, you know what I mean? Like, you just go, I should, there's part of me that was thinking, you know, I should be up there, you know? You know, when I'm watching it, you know, I'm like, I should be up there. But a lot of the bands these days, you know, they get guys, younger guys, that they don't have to pay a lot, you know. They get young guys that just want to go out on tour for beer money and chicks, you know what I mean? So,
which, I mean, that's how it started for you. It just, you know, you get older and you know, you've got to make a living out of it somehow.
Older, you want to make a living too. I mean, all that's fun. Beer and chicks are fun, but, you know, as you get older, you know, you want to make a living at it, but a lot of these bands don't want to pay, you know, like, I can make better money playing in Las Vegas than somebody asked me the other day, and I said, I make better money playing in Las Vegas than I would ever do playing in Faster Pussycat.
Wow.
So it's just, you know, the money is not, you know, doing the gigs and the, you know, I think that, you know, too, at the same time, even though the bands are great, I think sometimes certain bands have been able to keep their bands together, all original members, but I think a lot of times when you keep changing members, you kind of you kind of water down the band a little bit, so it really hurts. I think, you know, when you go out and try to play clubs, you know, as like say Faster Pussycat, when they look there, they say, well, the only original member's a singer, and he doesn't even look like himself, and they don't want to pay. A lot of the promoters, they don't want to pay what, you know. And out here in Vegas, you know, casinos have money to pay, which I'm really lucky and blessed. You know?
That's amazing. You should be able to do that, especially at this stage of your career. And I want to ask you, because I feel like that, you know, things like what the Saints of Las Vegas are doing, and I know there's a lot of great shows out there. I mean, Hairball. There's a show in Vegas called Raiding the Rock Vault that's really good, and a lot of great guys in that. Sin City Center, as you talked about, yeah, your former band. That maybe that because I feel like that rock is not people are not really having a connection with the rock music of today. That the things like what you're doing may be kind of the future of hard rock music in a lot of ways. You know, and that's kind of an important flag to bear.
That's why I came out. Well, I came out here because I saw, I mean, back in the day, the biggest stars were like Elvis Presley, and what they would do is they'd come out to Vegas, and they would play multiple nights in Vegas, and people would, instead of touring, people would come to him. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. It's like really easy. I mean, that's simple, right? Simple math, right? I mean, it's like, okay, I can tour my own backyard. People could come from all over the world. Everybody comes to Vegas anyways, you know? So I get people from all around the world. I mean, ever since I started playing out here, I mean, people would take a taxi to the dive bar from Germany, you know, and I said, oh, where'd you come in from? Oh, we're big fans of yours. I go, where'd you come from? Oh, Germany, you know, or anywhere, you know. My friend from Japan is here, you know, and right now coming to see me play, and so people come from all over the world to Vegas, you know?
Absolutely, and that's a great, I'm just so happy for you, and I cannot wish enough success.
I'm one of the first guys. I'm not saying I'm the first, but I'm one of the first kind of from my generation of, like, you know, when I say my generation, I'm talking about LA Guns, Guns N' Roses, Faster Pussycat, Poison, era, that 19, you know, that kind of the scene in 1987, Sunset Strip music scene. I'm one of the first guys out of that to come out here and sort of help. You know, I'm not going to take total credit because I had great band members, Todd Kearns, and I was playing with great guys. So, but like I said, I really think we helped create a rock scene out here, you know. And I'm still trying to create and try to give back, you know, like. You know, since I've been out here, you know, but I told someone it is an absolute truth. With all the charity stuff that I've done, I've raised over $1 million in charity,
which is amazing.
And that's with, and not just me, but with all, you know, all the other people I've played with, Todd Kearns and Doc Ellis, Rob Cornroyer, even my new band members now, Anthony. I mean, we done Toys for Tots, and like. And we've done so many big, huge ones. We did you know, we've done so many things. I shaved my head. I think I raised $10,000 one year. You know, I think almost every member of the Cincinnati Centers at one time shaved their head for St. Baldrick's cancer charity thing. And one day we were like, okay, let's just add it up. We made this much here. We made, you know, we raised this much there. We raised this much, and we did a huge one that one year. One year we did a huge one that was like, I think we made like 500,000 because like Sammy Hagar was there and Slash, and we jammed on stage with all these guys. We were a part of that. We were like the backup band, and Vince Neil was there, and Sammy Hagar, Todd Rundgren. It was incredible. It was like, wow. Alice Cooper, and we made, I think that one we almost made like $500,000, right? Just on that one. So I remember thinking, let's add this up. Oh, we've raised over $1 million for like local charities, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's unbelievable. And keep that up, man. That's just so great to be able to do that. And Las Vegas is a great place to be able to do it. People are there.
And at the same time, well, yeah, and too, I've been lucky enough at the same time. We do a lot of charity, but at the same time, I'm lucky to like get a lot of gigs too, and I've been able to make a living at it out here, you know. And I'm like, wow, you know. So I'm really lucky, and I've been able to recreate myself like a few times. You know what I mean? It's like, and everything explodes, I've been able to sort of recreate myself and make another band and make it, and kind of make it again, you know. And I'm like, wow, you know, maybe I need to write a book on how to, like, you know, make it happen or something. You know?
There it is, Make It Happen by Brent Muscat.
Make it happen, you know.
And you know, it's funny because you're kind of on the younger end of the spectrum from people from your era. You're Faster Pussycat was very young when you released your debut, but you know, look at the last few years. My gosh, it's been such a sobering thought. We just the other day we lost Pat Torby from Mr. Big, who I was a big Mr. Big fan. And I love him, sweet person. Just the last 2 years, you know, Grill and Fry from the Eagles, Lemmy, David Bowie, Prince. I mean, you know, it's a sobering thought though from, you know, fans of rock music that you know, your heroes don't last forever. But like I said, you're on the very young end of things from your era, so that's good. You got a long way to go, rocking out, man.
So, you know, I'm trying to, but life is hard on everybody. You know, there's a lot of, I think even nowadays with social media, it's like, it doesn't, sometimes it makes things easier, but sometimes it makes things more stressful. You know, you can't get away from, like, things. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta, you know, I found myself the other day, I was going, you know, go to the restroom, I was going to bring my phone with me. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to bring my phone. I'm going to get away from my phone and social media for a second. You know, but nowadays I just think it's hard on everybody. Last year I went through a really tough time where I was stressed out. I had too many things going on, you know. But this year, like I said, it feels like a new year where I'm just going to try to focus on one thing and stay focused and have certain goals. You know, like one goal is to have a new original single out, one a month for my band. And actually at the end of the summer, I wanted to tour from the West Coast out here to the East Coast and back again, you know, and play everywhere in between, you know. And at the end of the summer, you know, early fall. So I've got a few months if we can, you know, but that's my goal, and, you know, and it's good to have goals. And if you don't reach your goal, at least you can accomplish little things on the way that help, and maybe you review it in a year and you go, okay, I didn't get there yet, but we got a lot closer, and, you know, we're almost there, so let's extend the goal a little bit. Maybe not a year, maybe it's a, you know, 16 months, you know, or whatever it takes, you know. But it's fun waking up every day and thinking, you know, what can I do, and what can we do to sort of, you know, give back to people, make music, and entertain people, and also give back, you know, to charity and stuff.
It's so great, and I tell you, it's just going to be great watching this band continue to grow. And I'm going to be out in Vegas in March myself. Going to make it a point to hit you up and come by and check you out wherever you may be at that time, man. We're gonna, because Michael Schenker Fest is going on out there. We're gonna go out and check that out, and then hopefully check out the Saints of Las Vegas too, man. So
check us out. We should be out here. We'll be out here, like I said. We've got to the end of summer, and like I was thinking we should have an album's worth of stuff by the end of summer if we keep up the hard work, you know.
Sure. Well, I can't wait to check that out. Please, you know, we'll be in touch with Lisa and your publicist, and make sure that we check some of that out, man. We'll pump it for you. Huge fan, Brent, of everything you do, and I can't thank you enough, man. When we get out to Vegas, we're going to be sure to hit you up. Saints of Las Vegas.
I want everybody to like the page, you know, like our page on Facebook, and then check out our first single, and our next single is coming out probably within a week or two. So stand by for that. It's like pretty much almost ready. I'm kind of was uploading it today on the internet. Like,
awesome!
I almost have it ready. So
here we go.
Second single should be out there too.
Tamiko is very good, man. Can't wait for this one. Yep. And everyone head over and like the page. That's the best source of information for everything Saints of Las Vegas. It's at Saints LV, if I'm correct on that.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Brent, thank you so much, my friend. We'll keep in touch, and we'll do it again down the road. Anything you ever have to promote, you can do it right here on the Music Mania podcast. We will definitely be in touch, my friend. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anytime, brother. Thank you. Well, a big thanks to Brent for joining us here on the Music Mania podcast. Great to catch up with him about Saints of Las Vegas. Excited. I'm going to be out in Vegas in March. Hopefully I can go check out the Saints. A huge fan of Brent Muscat. Great guitarist, great player. I mean, going back to Faster Pussycat, just what a band that has always stuck out to me. The image, the sound. I was a huge fan. And I've seen Faster Pussycat in the Tammy Downs version that is out there today anyway, in the last couple years. I saw him twice, actually, within like a year. I saw him here in Kansas City and then opening for LA Guns out in LA at the Whiskey, which was a cool experience. Seeing, LA bands playing at the Whiskey was kind of cool for me since I wasn't around back in the day and the era. So Brent is out there. Please hit them up. His website is brentmuscat.net. Saints of Las Vegas, you can find them on Facebook and Twitter. All their tour dates are there. Be sure to do that. If you're out in Vegas, don't miss it. Hit them up for sure. They'd definitely be glad to hear from you. Be glad to have you out at a show. Guys, thanks so much for joining us here. And we always appreciate you sharing our interviews, giving some interaction. What do you think? Who do you want us to have on next? Although, who we have on next at this point will be determined by me. Because next, on our next show, huge guest, one of the greatest guitarists of all time, one of the best guitarists in rock, is going to be joining us. He's going to be making his return to the Music Mania podcast. That is, of course, Michael Schenker, who is bringing his Michael Schenker Fest to the United States for a tour this spring in March and in early April. We're going to be talking to him about his new album. He's got all 3 original MSG singers, Graham Bonnet, Steve Barden, and of course Robin McCauley, all out there on doing a 2.5-hour show, doing all the UFO stuff, some Scorpions material, some MSG. You don't want to miss this tour. We're going to be talking with Michael Schenker about all that and much more next week on the Music Mania podcast.